It's time again for Story Starters for Younger Children. This is the program where I will read a book to the kids who are ages roughly 4 to 8. Younger kids are welcome to listen in, older kids are welcome to listen in, but the books that I choose will be geared toward that age group. Some of them will be easy readers, so as they are becoming interested in checking out and reading books of their own, then these will be ones that I'm introducing that they will learn about. Some of them will be harder, ones that will be an interesting story for young children, but a grown-up or a much better reader will need to do. And that's the one we have today. It's called The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me by Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl has a lot of books that are very imaginative. This one is a kind of gentle one. So I will start with The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me by Roald Dahl. Here's a picture. Not far from where I live, there is a queer old empty wooden house standing all by itself on the side of the road. I long to explore inside it, but the door is always locked. And when I peek through a window, all I can see is darkness and dust. I know the ground floor once used to be a shop because I can still read the faded lettering across the front, which says, The Grubber. My mother had told me that in our part of the country in the olden days, a grubber was another name for a sweet shop. And now every time I look at it, I think to myself, what a lovely old candy shop it must have been. In the shop window itself, somebody has painted the white words, For Sale. One morning I noticed that For Sale had been scraped off the shop window, and in its place, somebody had painted Sold. I stood there staring at the new writing and wishing like mad that it had been me who had bought it, because then I would have been able to make it into a grubber all over again. I've always longed and longed to own a sweet shop. The sweet shop of my dreams would be loaded from top to bottom with sherbet suckers and caramel fudge and Russian toffee and sugar snorters and butter gumballs and thousands of other glorious things like that. Oh boy, what I couldn't have done with that old grubber shop if it had been mine. On my next visit to the grubber, I was standing across the road, gazing at the wonderful old building, when suddenly an enormous bathtub came sailing out through one of the second-story windows and crashed right onto the middle of the road. This one. A few minutes later, a white porcelain lavatory pan with the wooden seat still on it came flying out the same window and landed with a wonderful splintering crash just beside the bathtub. This was followed by a kitchen sink and an empty canary cage and a 4-poster bed and 2 hot water bottles and a rocking horse and a sewing machine and goodness knows what else besides. It looked as though someone was ripping out the whole of the inside of the house, because now pieces of staircase and bits of the banister and a whole lot of old floorboards came whistling through the windows. And then there was silence. I waited and I waited, but not another sound came from the building. I crossed the road and stood right under the windows and called out, Is anybody home? There was no answer. In the end, it began to get dark, so I had to turn away and start going home. But you can bet your life nothing was going to stop me from hurrying back there again tomorrow morning to see what the next surprise was going to be. When I got there, The next morning, the first thing I noticed was the new door. The dirty old brown door had been taken out, and in its place, someone had fitted a brand new red one. The new door was fantastic. It was twice as high as the other one had been, and it looked ridiculous. I couldn't begin to imagine who would want a tremendous tall door like that in his house, unless it was a giant. There, can you see this big tall door? Whoa, that door goes all the way up to the second-story window. As well as this big door, somebody had scraped away the sold sign on the window, and now there was a whole lot of different writing all over the glass. I stood there reading it and reading it and reading it and trying to figure out what in earth it meant. It says, "The Ladderless Window Cleaning Company. Get your windows cleaned without a lot of dirty ladders leaning against your house." What does that mean? I tried to catch some sign or sound of movement inside the house, but there was none until all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that one of the windows on the top floor was slowly beginning to open up outwards, and then a head appeared at the open window. I stared at the head. The head stared back at me with big, round, dark eyes. Stare. Suddenly, a second window was flung open, and of all the crazy things, a gigantic white bird popped out and perched on the windowsill. I knew what this was. I knew what this one was because of its amazing beak, which was shaped like a huge orange-colored sink. The pelican looked down at me and sang out, "Oh, how I wish for a big fish. I'm as hungry as ever could be. A dish of fish is my only wish. How far are we from the sea?" Oh, oops, I'm not showing you the correct picture. "We're a long way from the sea," I called back to him. "But there is a fishmonger in the village not far away." "A fish what?" "A fishmonger." "Now what on earth would that be?" asked the pelican. "I have heard of a fish pie and a fish cake and a fish finger, but I have never heard of a fishmonger. Are those mongers good to eat?" This question baffled me a bit, so I said, "Who is your friend in the next window?" "She is the giraffe," the pelican answered. "Is she not wonderful? Her legs are on the ground floor and her head is looking out of the top floor window." And as if all that wasn't enough, the window on the first floor was now flung wide open and out popped a monkey. The monkey stood on the windowsill and did a jiggly little dance. He was so skinny he seemed to be made only out of furry bits of wire, but he danced wonderfully well, and I clapped and cheered and did a little dance myself in return. Can you see the pictures? "We are the window cleaners," sang out the monkey. "We will polish your glass till it's shining like brass and it sparkles like sun on the sea. We are quick and polite. We will come day or night, the giraffe and the Pelly and me. We're a fabulous crew. We know just what to do, and we never stop work to drink tea. All your windows will glow when we give them a go, the giraffe and the Pelly and me. We use water and soap, plus some kindness and hope, but we never use ladders, not we. Who needs ladders at all when you're 30 feet tall? Not Giraffe, and not Pelly, and not me." I stood there enthralled. Then I heard the giraffe saying to Pelican in the next window, "Pelly, my dear, be so good as to fly down and bring that small person up here to talk to us." At once, the pelican spread his huge white wings and flew down to the road beside me. "Hop in," he said, opening his enormous beak. I stared at the great orange beak and backed away. "Go on," said the monkey, shouting from up on his window. The Pelly isn't going to swallow you. Climb in. I said to the pelican, I'll only get in if you promise not to shut your beak once I'm inside. You have nothing to fear, cried the pelican. And let me show you why. I have a very special beak, and a special beak have I. You'll never see a beak so fine. I don't care where you go. There's magic in the beak of mine. Hop in. Don't say no. And that is as far as I will read of the giraffe and the Pelly and me. You should check out this book at the library to find out. Does the little boy climb into the beak of the pelican? There's a picture. Maybe he does. And after he flies, it gets into the beak of the pelican. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think they're going to fly away? Do you think the pelican's going to eat him? What do you think's going to happen? Check out the book, The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me by Roald Dahl, and find out what happens next. Thanks for coming and listening to this story, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.